Before you decide these videos are fake, watch them until the very end. Every clip starts out completely normal until something appears that no one can explain. The final video might be the most disturbing one of them all. A group of friends was investigating an old building after hearing strange noises coming from the upper floor. The staircase ahead was swallowed by darkness, making it impossible to see what was waiting above. One of them slowly raised a flashlight toward the landing. For a brief moment, the beam revealed what looked like two silent figures standing perfectly still at the top of the stairs. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then, in the blink of an eye, a bright white shape shot across the landing at incredible speed before disappearing into the darkness. The group froze, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Some believe the light was only a camera illusion or a trick of the flashlight. Others are convinced it was something that didn't want to be seen. But if it was only a trick of the light, then why did everyone in the room see the exact same thing? Late one night, a security camera quietly monitored an empty elevator. For several seconds, nothing unusual happened. Then, without warning, a woman was suddenly standing inside. No doors opened, no footsteps were heard. She appeared with her head lowered, her long dark hair hiding her face, while a worn, stained nightgown hung loosely around her. She didn't move. She didn't look up. She simply stood there in complete silence, creating an unsettling feeling that was impossible to ignore. After only a few seconds, the camera suddenly glitched. The screen filled with interference, and then the recording cut off entirely. Some people insist it was nothing more than a staged video. Others believe the camera captured something it was never supposed to see. But if she never entered the elevator, then where did she come from? Not every mysterious encounter begins with violence. Sometimes the ones that stay with you are the ones that do absolutely nothing. A strange video appeared online, showing what looked like a shadowy figure sitting alone in the corner of an empty room. It wasn't moving, speaking, or reacting to anything around it. Instead, it simply stared ahead with a chilling grin stretched across its face. The longer you look, the more unsettling it becomes. Its expression never changes, almost as if it's patiently waiting for someone to notice it. Some people believe the figure looks exhausted after causing endless chaos, while others think it's calmly watching, waiting for the right moment. But one question remains unanswered. What if it wasn't resting at all, but quietly watching the person behind the camera? A student was practicing an important presentation while a friend recorded the rehearsal. At first, everything seemed completely ordinary as she focused on remembering each line. Then the room changed. The lights suddenly flickered, forcing both of them to pause. Before they could brush it off, a loud bang came from the closet behind them. They turned toward the noise, but nothing was there, trying to ignore it.
The client's identity and provide...
Ano ito?
Sige pa rin, sige na.
She continued speaking. Seconds later, another sharp sound echoed from the same spot, this time even louder than before.
Now that I have introduced myself to the patient...
The room fell silent as both of them stared at the closet, too nervous to open it. Some believe it was just the house settling or something falling inside. Others think they disturbed something that didn't appreciate the interruption. But if the closet was empty, then what kept trying to get their attention from the other side of the door?
Ano ito?
Sige pa rin, sige na. Tara. 1, 2, 3, go. Now that I have introduced myself to the patient...
After hearing unexplained noises in his bedroom for several nights, one man decided to leave a camera recording while he stepped away. He expected to prove that the sounds had a simple explanation. When he returned, The room looked exactly as he had left it. But after replaying the footage, he noticed something that made him stop cold for just a split second. A dark human-shaped shadow rushed across the room with impossible speed before disappearing completely. There were no open windows, no other people inside, and nothing else in the recording that could explain it. Some viewers believe it was a camera glitch or a trick of the lighting. Others think the camera captured something invisible to the naked eye. But if the room was empty, then who or what crossed in front of the camera when no one was there? Two friends were simply trying to record an acoustic performance inside their home. Everything seemed completely normal as they focused on the music, never once looking behind them, and something unsettling appeared. Through the glass door, a towering figure slowly came into view. It stood so tall that its head nearly reached above the doorframe. The strange shape remained perfectly still, silently watching the two musicians without making a single movement. Only a few seconds later, one of the friends leaned forward while singing. When he sat back up, the figure had completely disappeared without a trace. Some viewers believe the unusual shape around its neck could be evidence of something terrifying. Others think the entire clip was carefully edited. But considering the age of the recording, many still wonder if it wasn't an illusion. Then who or what was silently standing just a few feet behind them? An experienced paranormal investigator was exploring a farmhouse that had stood for more than a century. Visitors had long reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, strange voices, and even the sound of a child calling for help. As he slowly walked through a narrow hallway, his camera captured something he didn't notice at first. A pale figure carefully leaned around the corner of a nearby doorway, watching him in complete silence. The moment it realized it had been seen, it quickly pulled back out of sight. The investigator rushed toward the room, but when he looked inside, it was completely empty. Some believe it was just a trick of the lighting. Others are convinced the camera captured someone or something that had been watching from the shadows all along. But if no one was hiding in that room, then who was peeking around the corner? One quiet evening, a married couple was relaxing at home when their motion-activated baby monitor suddenly switched on by itself. Thinking someone had entered the room, they immediately looked at the screen. At first, everything seemed normal. Then, near the edge of the camera's view, what looked like a tiny pale hand slowly appeared and made a brief waving motion before disappearing. Shocked, they adjusted the camera to get a better look. But the strange shape had already vanished. Just moments later, it appeared again in almost the exact same spot, moving far too quickly to identify before fading from view once more. Some viewers believe it was nothing more than dust drifting close to the camera lens. Others aren't so sure, convinced the couple witnessed something far more disturbing. But if it wasn't dust, then who was trying to wave at them from an empty room? Urban explorers often avoid abandoned hospitals, not because of the crumbling walls, but because of the stories left behind inside them. One paranormal investigator decided to search an old, forgotten hospital after hearing countless reports of unexplained activity. As he slowly made his way through a silent hallway, he suddenly stopped. Something didn't feel right. A wheelchair sat alone in the corridor, completely motionless. Then, without anyone touching it, the chair suddenly rolled backward and disappeared into a nearby room as if an invisible force had pulled it away. The movement happened so quickly that the investigator barely had time to react before the hallway fell silent again. Some believe someone hidden off camera could have moved it. Others insist there was no one else inside the building. But if the hospital was truly abandoned, then who was waiting in the darkness to pull that wheelchair away? After weeks of hearing strange noises outside his bedroom, one man decided it was finally time to set up a camera. Before recording, He carefully locked the door and made sure there were no strings, wires, or hidden tricks attached to the handle. To remove any doubt, he stepped several feet away and kept the camera focused on the door. For a few long seconds, nothing happened. Then, without anyone near it, the lock slowly turned on its own. A moment later, the door creaked open as if someone on the other side had quietly pushed it. The room was completely silent. Some viewers believe there's a logical explanation hidden somewhere off camera. Others say the footage is one of the most convincing paranormal recordings ever shared. But if no one was inside, then who unlocked the door from the other side? A man was casually filming himself as he walked through what appeared to be a quiet wellness center. Focused on talking to the camera, he had no idea that something unsettling was happening just behind him. As he continued recording, a woman dressed in white slowly appeared near a nearby window. Her long dark hair covered most of her face, and she stood perfectly still, silently watching him from only a short distance away. The strangest part? He never turned around. He finished recording without realizing anyone or anything had been standing there the entire time. Some viewers believe it was simply another person in the building. Others noticed there was no clear way for anyone to appear or disappear that quickly. But if she wasn't outside the window, then who was standing only a few feet behind him the whole time? Losing someone you love is never easy. But one family believes that saying goodbye wasn't the end. A homeowner checked the footage from a security camera after noticing an unusual alert during the night. As the recording played, a glowing, mist-like figure slowly drifted across the screen, moving with a calm, almost peaceful motion before fading into the darkness. There were no insects near the lens, no people outside, and no obvious explanation for what appeared on camera. The family couldn't help but wonder if the figure was someone they had recently lost, returning for one final visit to let them know they weren't truly gone. Some viewers call it nothing more than an odd camera effect. Others believe it was a quiet message from beyond, but if that wasn't just light or mist, then who came back to visit that home one last time? Some old buildings carry stories that refuse to disappear. One historic hotel has earned a reputation for strange sightings, unexplained noises, and guests who swear they were never truly alone. During a daytime walkthrough, a paranormal explorer slowly filmed the empty hallways, expecting nothing more than an ordinary investigation. But as the camera swept across the building, something unexpected caught his attention. A dark figure appeared behind one of the upper windows, standing completely still as if it were watching him from inside. Moments later, it was gone without a sound, leaving no sign that anyone had ever been there. Some believe it was only a trick of light or a reflection. Others are convinced the hotel is still home to something that never checked out. But if the building was empty, then who was silently watching from that window? A group of friends decided to spend the evening inside an old shed with a Ouija board. At first, nobody could take it seriously. They laughed, joked with each other, and treated the whole thing like a game. But as the minutes passed, the atmosphere slowly changed. The room grew unusually quiet. Their jokes became less frequent as they waited for anything to happen. The board remained completely still, making them think the session had failed. Then, just as they started laughing again, a loud object suddenly crashed to the floor beside them. The laughter stopped instantly, without saying much. The group quietly packed up and hurried out of the shed. Convinced they were no longer alone, some believe it was simply bad timing. Others think they accidentally invited something they were never supposed to contact. But if no one touched anything, then what made that object fall at the exact moment they asked if anyone was there? What was supposed to be a joyful family Christmas suddenly took an unsettling turn As everyone gathered around to open their presents, the camera captured a small toy resting nearby. At first, nobody paid any attention to it. Then, without warning, it suddenly moved across the floor all by itself. The family immediately stopped celebrating and stared in disbelief. No one was close enough to touch it, and there didn't seem to be any remote or obvious explanation. Strangely, the toy appeared to react the moment someone pointed it out, almost as if it knew it was being watched. Some believe it was nothing more than a motion-activated toy. Others aren't convinced, claiming its timing was simply too perfect to be a coincidence. So was it just a harmless malfunction? Or had something unseen joined the family's Christmas celebration?